Okay. I just want to welcome everybody and say thank you for coming to our workshop for May the 12th at 5 p.m. We do have a lot to cover, so I just want to ask everybody to maybe keep it to the point, and we'll see if we can't push through this. But I want to start. We got a lot of guests here. We're going to start with Kevin at Parks. Kevin and I had a great conversation this last week, and I'm honored to work with Parks as much as we can to move our tourism forward. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kevin.
Great, thank you. I have had a really good long conversation with Bruce Dunn about Fat Tire Festival. He is interested in taking it on, and there's still some discussion and negotiation to do to figure out exactly what that looks like and what the format is. The objective being, and this is what Jeff and I discussed, is getting back to what Fat Tire Festival was 5 years ago and previous, where people would come and race all 3 days.
Let me remind them, Bruce Dunn is the guy that's doing the Eurekan. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
That's Bruce, and so he's, I think, I haven't talked to Bruce, but I think he's very much interested in helping us.
Right, so we're working on scheduling a meeting between the three of us so that we can discuss it in a little bit more detail. The biggest issue is going to be addressing format with him and figuring out how we change the makeup of the event to get back to the days when people were attracted to racing all 3 days, which has not been the case over the last 5 years. And a lot of it has to do with disciplines and the way the mountain biking disciplines have kind of changed and separated. You don't have crossover between the event types like there used to be. But I think there's still an opportunity to get Fat Tire back to where it was the #1 drawing mountain bike event in this part of the country all year. And back when I first started racing at a little over 10 years ago, it was not unusual to see 500 or 600 people on the event weekend. So, and I think we have the ability to do that. We're just going to have to work on it a little bit and figure out how we structure things with him. So that's ongoing, but I think it's positive. One of the things that we hope to be able to do is land on a date that works best for the race calendar. One of the challenges, as especially mountain biking and racing has become more popular in this part of the country, is that there are so many events, it's very difficult to schedule an event that doesn't step on top of another event. And so you want to make sure that Fat Tire used to draw people from as far away as Colorado and Alabama, a good, solid day's drive plus. And over the last few years, it hasn't drawn quite from that radius. So if the event goes back to being a unique 3-day event, then there's certainly the ability to draw people from that kind of radius. But we need to figure out what that date is and what works best within the city calendar and in the racing calendar. So I would say at this point, Fat Tire's ongoing.
Okay. You guys have any questions about Fat Tire? I just want to make sure that we cover this and that we understand that, Fat Tire, I don't like to use cancel for this year. We're really looking to postpone it and move it into 2022. My opinion is that on events, the people that are passionate about events and that particular medium or whatever, and people who know what they're doing in that area, I feel like Parks should run that event. It's kind of what I'm alluding to.
Makes sense.
So I'd like to have y'all's opinion on this and give it to Kevin Wall.
Well, definitely, Kevin, last time that you spoke here about Fat Tire, I really appreciated that you understand the biking, the mountain biking. I definitely would love to have Parks involved because
Well, and I think we have the distinct advantage of employing Dave Renko now, who created the Fat Tire Festival 20-some years ago.
You said, it's not an event, it's a race, and if it isn't a race, then it'll never be a true event.
Right.
People will want to come to, because the racers won't want to show up.
Right.
So
There's too many events to choose from. There are too many options these days. So there has to be a uniqueness to it. And as the the original format, which kind of blended alt riding types, so a short track race, a gravity style race, and a cross-country race, were fine back in the day when gravity didn't have an identity of its own as it does now. And so the disciplines have completely separated. There's almost no crossover, which is why the turnout has been so low over the last several years for the event. So to get back to looking at it as a 3-day stage race that attracts the cross-country rider, I think is the right approach to it, and it'll offer something unique in this area in that there are no other 3-day stage races that exist. So.
Cool. Anything we can do?
Pardon?
Anything we can do?
At this point, it's just simply going to be a matter of working it out with Bruce to figure out what date works best, what format works best.
Okay.
Ultimately, I think the best way that this works for us is we let these guys do what they do, run the show. We give them the marketing support that they need.
Right.
Yep.
I think that's how I see this moving forward. I will continue to work with them on whatever level and bring that information back to you guys. And we'll have Kevin here pretty regular to keep us updated on parks activities.
I live here.
Yeah.
By that, I mean the auditorium, so it's...
Yeah.
So as of right now, there is no Fat Tire planned. Are we talking about next year?
We're talking about next year.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's stay in touch. Let's keep it moving forward.
Yep. Okay.
Fireworks?
Fireworks. Okay, so $10,000, so $5,000 apiece, which is kind of in line with what we had discussed that we would probably be able to do. And I don't know, Jeff, if you've had a chance to float the idea with the mayor of actually putting on the fireworks from the top of Plainer Hill, the parking lot, so that they're visible to the entire downtown area, and actually a good deal of the upper part of 62,
Right.
which I think benefits everybody. It benefits the business. Any restaurant that has outdoor dining
Right.
will be able to do it. One of the issues is that they definitely cannot do it on the 3rd, which is Saturday. Their preference would be to do it on Friday, July 2nd, because apparently they're already scheduled to do fireworks in Holiday Island. The 4th, they said, is possible, but we're going to need to make a commitment to them very quickly to try to get that to happen. So it really comes down to the date that we would prefer to do it. It looks like either Friday or Sunday.
Well, I can speak from a lodging standpoint. It's always great when you've got an incentive to ask guests to go ahead and stay for that full holiday weekend.
Right.
I'm full in support of that.
Yeah.
Sunday night's fireworks show to me sounds perfect for us.
Yeah,
Okay.
because isn't Monday going to be the, kind of like the extra holiday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
Monday, a lot of businesses will be closed on
Yeah.
Monday. We're going to get a lot of tourists want to stay Sunday night.
Yeah.
If we could do a show for them, a fireworks show, I think would be fantastic.
I say we go for July 4th.
People are aching for an incentive to stay. They really are.
And so,
I don't know if the top of Plainer Hill would go. I guess the mayor's here, he might give his opinion on that.
Oh, he's stuck in the back of the
We,
room.
He's going, yeah,
we had so much objection to Marble Flats last time, and that was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
but-
don't know.
North Main got rattled with that. I don't think Plainer Hill. Can we do it at Plainer Hill, Butch, or no? Okay. Where can we do it? Leatherwood. Okay.
That's where it's been in the past, yeah.
I mean, we can always do it in Leatherwood. Is there, what would be the reason that we wouldn't be able to do it at Plainer Hill?
oh, we got him involved now.
Yeah.
I know they always want you to speak in the microphone.
Yeah.
We talked to Smitty yesterday. Plainer Hill is just too many buildings, just not a good spot. You know, you need someplace. Marble Flats was perfect because nobody was around there, easy to control, fire. Leatherwood's the same thing. We're going to have to get the fire marshal involved to approve it. Probably the fire marshal won't approve Plainer Hill.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marble Flats turned out to be all right. There was some complaints afterwards, but there wasn't anybody saying that my dog died because of the fireworks or anything like that.
Marble Flats, as far as location, is a perfect spot because it's visible from a lot of different vantage points in Eureka.
Right.
Where in Marble Flats were they set off?
Right at the right at the very top.
Oh, at the top.
Yeah. Right where it's the stone, and it was just perfect almost. You know, you could see it from these parking lots down in here, Plainer Hill. From our house, you had a perfect sight down Hillside Avenue, Crescent Grade, Crescent Hotel.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
about Melissa's place.
No.
We saw it at Chelsea's
Yeah,
easily.
we didn't see it on the upper loop at
So that
all.
would accomplish the same thing. I mean, what we were trying to do was make it visible from the largest
Yeah.
part of town.
And Marble Flats seemed to be about the best spot for that. And you had the fire department was able to be there to contain anything.
Is there some reason we can't have them back, Butch?
A what?
Is there some reason we can't do it there?
No. I mean, we'd have to get permission, but
Okay.
yeah. But I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
It may not be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Butch.
So, you guys see, obviously tonight, we're not going to have a meeting, but, and we can't actually vote on this, but you guys, any objection to moving forward, and at least giving them a, hey, at least see if we can do the 4th, and let's do some more preliminary, and then we'll vote on this officially. But I feel like this is a big win for us. We didn't get to do fireworks last year. You know, this will really kick off the second half of our season. It's going to kick off a lot of our campaign that Paradise is doing. All of this stuff's going to really, COVID seems to be on the down low, hopefully. It just seems like a really good time for us to kick off a season of entertainment and a season of Eureka.
And especially if it's at Marble Flats, there's not going to be any big crowds any one place, because practically anywhere you are in town, you're going to be able to find a place to see the fireworks. So, yeah, this is something we just need to,
Okay.
let's go ahead and do it.
Okay. So we will, I will need to bring it in front of the Parks Commission as well, because it was not specifically
When do you
budgeted
meet?
this year.
When's
but
the
that's-
parks meet? When's your next meeting with?
Our next meeting is next Tuesday.
Okay, so that's Tuesday, the 18th, is that?
Now, we did find out in talking to the event company that apparently both Kent Butler from Passion Play and the Chamber of Commerce have been in touch with them about fireworks. So it kind of points out the need that everybody needs to be singing off the same song sheet. We'll need to make contact and see.
I don't mind helping with that. I don't mind reaching out to them and seeing if we can't just make it a joint effort.
And I mean, quite honestly, you know, we could put on a better show if there were others willing to contribute to it. We've gotten proposals from the company for both a $10,000 and a $15,000 show.
Okay, awesome.
And apparently the way the agreement with this company in the past was if you do a 3-year deal with them or make a 3-year commitment with them, then you get an additional 15% on top of what the proposal is for annually. And my understanding was that last year would have been the last year of the 3-year deal that was originally signed with them. So I think there's benefit in doing that as well.
Okay,
Okay. We can vote on this on our next meeting, and
next meeting, but I don't see any reason for us, unless someone here has some kind of opposition, I feel like we, in good faith, you could move forward.
We'll keep moving forward with it. We'll get a hold of the fire marshal and
Yeah.
start at
Let's
least
put together
planning
a
it.
plan. Okay, let's keep working on that. I do have one more thing that I'm going to throw at you.
Okay.
Christmas lights. I know it's maybe a little early to talk about Christmas lights, but that's
Yeah.
been brought up to me, and you and I haven't visited about this. I know in the past we've supported some of that and help. Where do we stand with that?
So and again, this is kind of digging back through the records to see and talking to people to see how it was done in the past. My understanding is that more and more of the cost of it has migrated to parks over the years. We take care of putting up everything that Public Works does not put up, and I'm still not clear exactly on what that dividing line is. It's primarily a labor cost for us.
Right.
It takes 2 to 3 people pretty much, a full month to put them up and then take them down. So we just need to go back through the records. Unfortunately, in the past, there were
We
not.
could ask Rick. Rick, do you know what we've done in the past? What have we budgeted money for Christmas lights to help, and what is that? Do you remember? I know it's not.
We've helped in different ways.
Okay.
The parks has an electrician like on staff or something, and we paid him to do a bunch of rewiring at one point when we rented lights from somebody. They really get the short end of the stick because we bought this, 20-foot tree that goes in the park, but we don't put it up. They have to do that. So it's very labor intensive. It's, like
Right.
4 payrolls for parks complete just to put them up and take them down. So
Right.
if we could help in that capacity.
What have we done in the past? Do you
So
have
the
any
most
idea?
recent, the only contribution from CAPC was the rental of the scissor lift that put up those teardrop, or those icicle-looking things in Basin
Yeah.
Park. Last year, because we did not put those up, I think that was a $3,000 cost, and that was what we got from CAPC, was $3,000
Okay.
for that.
And I believe every year, at least for the last 3, maybe 4 years, we've been contributing, am I correct, Rick? 20 grand and maybe 10 last year?
In purchases, basically. Ours
Yeah,
is
we
basically
purchase new
purchases.
stuff.
We did contribute to the electrician portion of it. I think it's been,
Okay.
the last few years, we haven't contributed to the labor cost.
We got no labor
If,
contribution over the last 2 years.
Other than last year when we switched out the lift cost for labor cost.
Okay, so
All right.
you want to just look into that, and we'll come back to that, but I just want to kind of get a refresher course on that for us.
Okay.
Yeah, anything else you got for us, you want us to know? Okay,
Not right now. We have talked about, and I guess we'll just bring you up to date on what we're doing with the maps.
okay.
So unfortunately, no one has been able to locate the electronic files of the old trail maps. So we're starting from scratch, which is probably not a bad thing because those maps were not 100% correct anyway. We have signed a contract with a company that has been doing the trail maps for all of the Northwest Arkansas trail systems that the Fulton Family Foundation is funding. They are doing the data surveys to produce the maps. They're going to create the maps, and they're going to create brochures for us. We are picking up the cost of that. We will come back to CAPC when we have that completed and we're ready to start printing and determine how many we're going to print.
Okay.
I think one of the flaws in the past was that they would print literally just, I don't know, I think the last time they printed them, it was nearly 10,000 of them, which makes it cost ineffective to change anything
Yes.
until you've burned through those.
Yeah.
There's a reasonable break point for printing that makes sense, that we can distribute them and still have the flexibility to make updates. And the perfect example will be that when we release the maps, they will show that the dam at Leatherwood cannot be crossed. But we're hoping that that's a relatively temporary thing, and that once we have a solution to fix the railing issues, that we'll be able to open it back up. We don't need 5,000 maps sitting out there that says that the dam is closed once we get it open. So
I know that we ran out of the maps at our place, and our guests, they
we've
loved them, they
been
missed them.
scrambling, trying to figure out, where that landed. I know that the previous director had come to the CAPC last year and proposed that CAPC take over printing of the maps. And then we've not been able to locate any information about that since then. So
Following that, at that particular meeting, there were a number of concerns brought up about the previous map, which did have some errors, some
Right.
fairly distinctive ones. And it had been suggested that before you get too close to printing, that there be not just parks people on the committee, but, I don't know, somebody from runway or trails, but somebody that really knows particularly the problems of that last map.
Well, we know the problems of the last map. I mean, I'm familiar with all the trails out at Leatherwood, and I can tell you precisely which sections were missing. So what we are doing is the company we are hiring is going to actually go out and geolocate every trail. They will be on every trail and create a new digital base map for the maps that we will produce the maps from.
Great, but still, before you come to us for funding, I think it's a really good idea that you involve more than just parks in looking at it. We had been talking to Justin about doing a committee of some people that are familiar with particularly the newest trails that have been built since the Waltons got involved. I, for one, am going to ask a lot of questions before we fund it. So I just want to make sure if we're going to do it, it gets done well. Also, one of the other things that came up was going from a printed design to digital in the future.
These will be digital base maps. Everything will be digital.
Right, but not doing print at some point. Because most of the people that are on bikes, when they're out there, that's what they're using anyway. They're not using a printed map. I can see the need for some, so I'm glad you're not printing 10,000 at a time.
Well, the digital exists right now. There's an app called Trail Forks, and it is 100% accurate, and we use that to communicate to people which trails are
Did you
closed.
say it was called Trail Works?
Trail Forks.
Okay, Trail Forks, okay.
And it's an app that's used globally. It's probably the most used trail app.
Like nationally?
Yeah. Well, internationally. I use it when I'm in Italy. So
How well is the cell phone coverage out there? Is there any areas?
it's
where-
actually much better now. And
Okay.
I'm not entirely, I think there was a tower that was added somewhere out in that area
Okay,
several years ago, because it used to be you could not get a cell phone signal down in the park. You could only get it at the top of the hills. But it's now very consistent throughout the park.
Great.
But the beauty of an app like Trail Forks is that you can download maps for a given region onto your phone so that they're resident on the phone. So you don't need a cell phone signal, you just need GPS to locate yourself.
okay, nice.
Got it. Is that something we should have on our site now? If people want to come to the biking?
Well, we do on the park site.
But we don't, because I think it's the first time I've heard of it. So maybe that's something we should have on our.
So one of the
app.
things that Jeff had Paradise do was link the Bike Eureka page, which had a lot of incorrect information on it, directly to the parks page, which is being maintained now and is 100% correct.
Great.
Yeah, it's a process. All this is a process, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for helping and serving our community.
Thank you.
Lynn Berry, you got some updates for us?
I do.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank Harry for his initial help when we began to put together the actual job description for the tourism director. Invaluable help. And then Patrick finished up helping with the tourism director and the intern job description. So it was a little over a month that the job was posted on Indeed and on the city website and on CAPC.biz. And we received about 50 different applicants, many of whom were not suitable, nor were they matching any of the parameters that we had enumerated. So we ended up with 8 qualified candidates. And at that time, I vetted their various social media platforms to make sure nothing was wonky out there. And I also did a search for them in news apps to see if their name showed up connected with some sort of a different bend of news that we would not be favorable. And we did have one person that so was, and so we dismissed that applicant. Another applicant decided to run for Congress and withdrew. So we were down to 6. Oh, he was a Democrat. I really wanted to tell James DeVito that. So the 6 that we were left with, I called personally and said, we'd like to gauge your continued interest in the position of tourism director. We had one immediately text me and say, I will not be pursuing this position any further. He was in the western states, very qualified applicant. The next one texted me and said that she had been furloughed from her job due to the pandemic and that she was going back to work June 1st, so she was withdrawing from that as well. So we ended up with 4. And I spoke to one of the applicants just last evening. It was an hour-long conversation. She was well aware of items that had been in our local newspapers, and she also had ideas about what we should do with the City Advertising and Promotion Commission, the staff, the budget, who we should market to. We had a lovely visit over the phone, and then she withdrew her application. So we ended up with 3, and they are quite good. As we ranked them, they were kind of 2, 3, and 5 is where we ended up out of the 8 total number. And with your permission, I would like to forward the 3 applicants to all of the members of the commission, and I would like for you all to reach out to them. You'll have all their contact information. Do a Zoom or a voicemail call, or a voice call. I'm so used to voicemail. And then get together again as a commission to decide who might be the actual finalists. I am more than happy to volunteer to be at any of those meetings. And then move forward with in-person interviews next. And that is my recommendation, and I leave it to you.
Question?
Great, thanks, Lynn.
All
Yeah,
right.
Thank you
wonderful.
very
Look
much.
for your emails.
Okay,
Will do.
thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
I just can't thank you enough for your
Yeah.
service to this community. And give us a quick update on Branson real fast. How much competition are you guys going to be for us?
Our month of March in Branson was up 415% over previous year, and it was up 40% over 2019.
Wow.
Great.
We're kicking it.
Thank you again for helping us.
Totally different market.
Different market,
Than ours.
different budget,
Yeah.
different, yeah, but congratulations on those numbers.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
fantastic. Okay, so interns. Harry, you've been you probably have more information on this than I do.
Well,
You want to kind of lead us on this part?
everybody's got a copy of their resumes. I think that, pardon me, I've spoken with Heidi 2 or 3 different times, but
And I spoke with her as well.
have you spoke with the other 2?
I have only spoken with one other,
And we've got one on Zoom right now.
except for some email,
Yeah.
just trying to set this up, yeah.
Okay. Can she hear us? Doesn't look like it.
I don't think so.
Do we need to activate it over there?
Perhaps.
Yeah, well, I think that they're just there. She needs to read either mic if it's on.
Can she, yeah, she sees you.
Can you hear me?
So,
Hello?
Lydia, can you hear us?
Yep, she can.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. You want to tell us why you want this job?
Well, I'm currently going to school for graphic design right now, and I just have a big passion for local businesses, social media, all of that kind of stuff. I'm really passionate about. I think I could do a good job marketing to the younger crowd, as well as like bringing in new people, because I travel quite a bit, so I also know what I want to look for like whenever I look up social media stuff and all that kind of jazz.
So, Lydia, I see that you, as you just said, you're a graphic design student. Have you worked in that field?
I've done some graphic design work for Bike Rack Brewing.
Okay.
I've also just done some local work for some artists, different poster designs or like invitations, just like smaller stuff. But I have done a merch design for Bike Rack Brewing, as well as I've done social media projects for them, as well as Urban Outfitters when I lived in Vegas.
What's your experience, any, with Eureka Springs?
I lived out there for a couple months. I currently live in Bentonville, but I'm fine with like commuting out there. I think it's beautiful. I absolutely love the town. I think it's just like full of life and just like really charismatic and a fun place to be. So I really love it.
Anyone else?
Well, okay, thank you. Now, Heidi?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be back in this space. When I walked in, I said I performed here when I was younger, so it's nice to be back. And just seeing the stage is so neat because it takes me back right whenever I was like 10
You're still
years
younger.
I am. So a little bit about me. I just graduated actually last weekend from the University of Arkansas, so I now have a degree in journalism, which feels really weird to say. And I'm in this very transitional period. I'm actually headed off to grad school in the fall at American University in Washington, D.C. to kind of continue with political reporting and just kind of immerse myself even more so in journalism. During my 4 years at the University of Arkansas, I was really involved with student media, so I've done a little bit of everything as far as whether it's broadcast or advertising and promotions, graphic design, just a little bit of everything. I'm a photographer as well, if you can see my resume. I worked for the Arkansas Traveler, which was our student-run newspaper at the university, as well as our television station. So I pretty much had experience in all those different fields, and like I said, I'm really just looking for something for the summer to kind of help me build upon what I already have and then prepare me to move across the country to DC. And then as far as my experience here in Eureka, I grew up here. My parents own the health food store, Eureka Market, so I grew up behind the counter, working there, multiple days a week. I love this town. I live in Fayetteville right now, but of course I come home quite a bit to see my family, and especially since I'm going to be moving across the country once again. So I definitely have ties here, and I would consider myself very immersed in the community. I mean, I grew up going to drumming in the park and performing right here at the Odd, and in Eureka Springs High School I was the class president whenever I graduated, so I definitely have quite a few ties here. So I'm really looking forward to any opportunity that I could have.
Great, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
thanks, Heidi.
Questions?
And our third candidate,
Is this Molly or Rachel?
Rachel.
Rachel,
Rachel Foley.
okay.
Hello, Rachel.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Oh, perfect. Good deal.
Give us your sales pitch.
Okay, I graduated from CMSU, which is UCM in Warrensburg in 2006. I've been in the graphics industry since 2005. I've done a wide variety from yearbooks, from LifeTouch, working at Henry Wurst doing Quiznos menus and variable data, as well as uploading everything as far as basic website HTML, which not many people use that anymore, but that's what we had for their Markham Zone, and I did the basics to get what I did for Quiznos menus and stuff up for their franchise stores. And then I went on to doing vector art in a screen print company in Ottawa, Kansas, when I got laid off at Henry Wurst, the third set of layoffs. I've done photography, edited pictures. I currently am, my last position was at KC Book Manufacturing here in Kansas City, where I did books using Pit Stop to edit pages that the book authors needed, publishers. I'd work with publishers to edit pages or book covers, and I'd start it from, I was the only graphic designer there. And I would start the book from start to finish, pre-press all the way to making the Miller plates, the plates for the presses. We had 38 presses, and I'd make it all the way, lay the pages out. Okay, so my part with Eureka Springs, I live in Kansas City right now, looking to actually move up that way to Eureka because that's my go-to. It's been my go-to for the last 4 or 5 years. Love the arts, love the locals. That's really, I guess, about it. Any questions?
We are
I threw it all
lovable.
at you guys, and I'm like, I don't
Thank you
wanna,
very
know.
much. That you gave us.
Thanks a lot.
You gave us everything. Thank you very much. It's nice to meet you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Molly,
Nice meeting you guys.
if you can hear us, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hello there.
Hi. Hi,
I'll go
Molly.
ahead and introduce. I'm Molly Horton. I am a current senior at the University of Missouri. I actually graduate on Sunday morning at 8 a.m.
Congratulations.
All right.
All right.
So I graduate from the journalism school with a degree in strategic communications. So that's advertising, marketing. I have some pretty hands-on experience as of lately. I'm actually the account manager for a paid campaign for the Tampa Bay Times. So I'm very familiar with looking at research and applying it in creative ways. But I'm from Branson, Missouri. I've grown up in the tourist industry, completely surrounded by it. I worked at Show for 7 years, so I definitely know the ins and outs of the tourism industry. But with Eureka Springs, I've grown up going there twice a year, just experiencing the nature, the art, and I've always had a soft spot in my heart for it.
That's good to know.
Love it. Beautiful.
Any questions? I think that's good. Thank you very much, Molly.
What?
Any discussion on the interns? What I'd like to do is at our next meeting, we'll just nominate one and we'll vote.
Okay.
We'll work it out at our next regular meeting. Is that, or do you want to have?
Yeah, are we going to have, when are we going to have a regular meeting?
I will. I don't know.
Okay,
That's,
okay.
we may try to have
Someday
a
we will.
special meeting.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Yeah.
you joining us. Thank you,
Thank
Heidi,
you.
for coming
Our
and
regular
visiting.
meeting got postponed tonight, and so I thought we were going to be able to do this evening, but
But we'll-
Bye, guys.
We will soon.
we'll let you know. We will soon, very
Thank
soon.
you, Heidi.
Thank you, Heidi.
Mardi Gras? You guys ready? I know you guys, I wasn't able to be here last week, and you guys started a discussion about Mardi Gras marketing support.
Yeah, so,
So here we go.
yeah, here we go again. Thanks, everybody. So what you're looking at today in your packet is the very same thing we went over, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago? So part of, and I'll draw your attention to the first section, which is just the impact of Mardi Gras and what it has had on the city of Eureka. Using CAPC data, thanks to Rick, we were able to establish that really in February, when most of Mardi Gras events happen from January to usually the 1st of March, you're going to see that trend bump up to December's numbers, and which is, December is our big darn deal here, fourth quarter, any retailer will tell you. The next thing that we looked at over the last 3 years, we see that numbers on the Eureka Springs MardiGras.com page has grown from 2,000 hits 3 years ago to over 10,000. And so we know that in and of itself is proof that we're getting a lot of curious people for a schedule. And so the reason that we've come here is to join forces, Crew of Crazo, which is Kathy Hanley, and Crew de Cork, is to make sure that our guests know exactly what's going on all the time, anytime, for the entire carnival season. So that's why we're coming to you. Again, this is what your calendar looks like for Mardi Gras, starting the January 6th, and a total of 19 events that are already scheduled to go on during that 2-month period. And then we've kind of just followed the form that CAPC gave us, and the goals and history and what we've done in the past and all of that kind of good stuff. What I did, the meat of any of the request is on the very last page, proposed use of funds, and then the projected budget for the funds. So what we focused on, and Kathy's here available for any questions about what we've done in the past as well. I think you asked about that. We've come up with 5 things that we really think are important. Number 1, we need to do a joint calendar of all Mardi Gras events in a rack card. Rack cards, they're effective. They're in a 5-state area, and we're going to need about 10,000 of them. And that's going to have the complete calendar and then a reference to the next thing we think is pretty important, and that's a joint website, and having a professional do that rather than volunteers. And the next thing is that we also have budgeted about $5,700 for going to those corridor magazines, both print and digitally, so that we can have that coverage of Mardi Gras events that Paradise is not going to handle. Inside the corridor all the way to Fayetteville, that 2-hour drive time. Then we have this idea, and of course it's up to the commission to kind of take a look at this. We wanted something collectible. We wanted something collectible from Eureka Springs and your time during Mardi Gras season, and that's a doubloon. A doubloon is a coin about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and it's imprinted Eureka Springs Mardi Gras, and then it's got the year on the back. So it becomes that collectible, and it's thrown from floats. It's given out to patrons at a restaurant. It's in your room when you check in to stay the night. Any way that we can use those kinds of gimmies, those collectibles, the fun things. Then, like I said, we want to propose having a professional look at the website. And then we also need to do printing of tent cards for the Crew de Cork to have a taste of Eureka Gras that was very successful this year, even in the year of COVID. So, again, is there any questions as you look through all of this verbiage?
No, and I have to apologize. Last Monday it got crazy again, and I was not able to make it down to the Wanderoo, and I was racing to try to do it, and then we were buried under so much work. It was a very successful weekend, but are you going to be doing that again?
Here.
Okay, awesome.
So what Patrick's making reference to is that Crazo, and of course we support that as well, has a recruitment drive so that they can get members to make sure that everything, anything from a huge parade that 12,000 people have attended to a dinner, an elegant dinner celebrating the culinary heritage that Eureka has become. So that's what he's making reference to.
Right. I made it, but I had to go before I could talk to you, Kathy, but I did see you there.
Yes, I did see you as well. Awesome. Here for questions.
So here's kind of our I think a little bit of our dilemma is that this is a 2022 event, and we can't spend money for next year's budget today, right? And so that became, so I've actually been kind of pushing them off because we're not even having budget discussions for next year's budget until October. So the question is for me, how do we, because they have support needs now, is there a way that we can support them now, this year, moving for next year?
Well, it sounds like some of the things that they're asking for are actually that infrastructure that doesn't pertain to any particular year, but every year moving forward.
Right.
That's a way we could help.
Right, the rack
Like,
cards.
like the website,
and
the
rack-
website.
And the rack cards.
rack cards, yes.
So we could, Rick, where are we at with budget money for our marketing support, and do we have any additional printing funds in this budget?
We've only spent 5,000 of the 29,000 that we originally had in our marketing support so far. And we were going to do some budget numbers tonight, but since we're not having the meeting, we're not.
Right.
But we do have that $100,000 that we had set in the events section. I think Carol wants to put some in Folk Festival and Mayfest. But there's plenty of money there to work with as far as that, in addition to the 24,000 that's still in marketing support.
And one question, at some point, I think we had a limit of an ask of 5,000 for any ask. Has that changed?
No, the 5,000 is the maximum ask.
Okay.
That's right.
Jeff was looking at doing a different grant program, which would be up to 10,000, but we really haven't discussed that yet.
Got it. So the ask here would be 5,000?
The ask here, we were pooling our resources, for both crews to come together and ask for 10. And that's how we outlined it. Of course, it's your discretion, as always. So.
I did have one question, and of course, like I said, I really want to learn more, and I'm learning more by talking to a lot of folks, and I talked to some folks that absolutely love what you guys do. They did make the comment that they're not going to be joining some of it because the tickets have gone up so much. They don't think they can afford it. These are all locals. And I asked them about when they're doing these things, how much is it really bringing in outside tourists? And they said, not really a lot. It's most of the same people that we all know here in town. It's the parade, and sometimes maybe about 10 to 20% of the ball attendance is from out-of-town guests. So,
Right.
Obviously the CAPC's job is to bring people into town.
Absolutely.
And if we're just catering to people in town already here, that bothers me a little bit. As much as I love what you're doing,
Sure.
don't get me wrong.
So there is a big difference. So when we say the carnival season or Mardi Gras season, it is anything from a group of people bedazzling a tree in town and making a big social media deal out of that, to having the 12,000 in attendance for a parade. So it runs the gamut. When you have balls, they're going to need to be controlled with ticket sales, of course. And depending on what is highlighted, yes, that's going to be locals. It's going to be bringing. We've had people from Springfield. We've had people from Denver.
Yeah.
That is coming for Mardi Gras and just wanted to attend, let's say, that event.
Well, I loved your triage event with the taste of
Yeah.
Nolans and all that going on with Creole
Right.
Girls and many restaurants in town. It was a good pickup.
Yep.
I think you should always do that. I think every restaurant
We
that could
agree.
participate, it's an awesome thing to add to the roster.
Yeah. And so the addition of that printing would be something on the table that they could reference, ask your server about, and have that special or whatever they were trying to do. But we do want to make sure that people understand that regardless of weather, which we've had to deal with before, regardless of COVID that we've had to deal with before, we want them to know that Eureka is open and playing during Carnival.
And definitely I know that a lot of us are liking to stay open year-round. We're trying to convert
Yes.
Eureka to year-round.
Yes.
Having more events in January, February, those are great.
It's important. It's not such a 9-month town when you can do that. And the fact that our numbers are up there with Christmas, that makes a big deal.
Well, and I have a lot of guests that do come for your events, so.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I think with some advertising, maybe,
Yeah.
some smaller events that can draw tourists in, I
Yep.
think it's a good thing.
So the same person who will come for the parade may not be the person for a 5-course dinner highlighting Eureka's
Right.
culinary prowess here. But, and the opposite is right, is true as well. That person may want to do that, not go to a parade.
Do you guys have any of the rack cards or any of the graphics done for that yet?
We do not.
Okay. When do you expect to have those graphics
As soon
complete?
as we get, I think, a couple of things that are solidified on the calendar,
Okay.
we're ready to go.
Okay.
But we don't have a design ready. It will probably be both of our logos or all 5 crews within Eureka Springs. Did you know we had 5 crews?
6.
Are you working with
6.
a developer for your website already, or is that something you're still vetting?
We don't have a developer right now. What we do is have a volunteer doing a eurekasprings.org, but we do have the rights to .com, and that's where we know most people are going to go in the first place, is a .com. What we'd like to do with that is have all of the calendar events with pointed information about how to do tickets that we can't put on a rack card. Rack card's our first stop. And then that website will be peel off to an event, peel off to where to park for a parade, peel off to what we're going to do after the parade, peel off to, you understand what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Do you do own the .com and the .org?
Yep.
I would be sure to make sure if you're going to combine them, park that other one.
Oh,
Don't get
yes.
rid of it, park it, bring
Oh,
it
yes.
over.
Absolutely.
Awesome, good to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say too that,
Can you come up to the, will you come up to the mic? Yeah, so we can just have you on the record and our people who are viewing can hear you.
I would like to mention too, for the event that you did come to, thank you for that. We did sign up 31 new people, and of the 31, over half of those were from the corridor. So these are not locals only that we're contributing to, and they're all asking, can we bring more of our friends from Fayetteville, Springfield, Kansas City, and St. Louis? And they did already
Did you
sign
say
up.
twist my arm, right?
Yeah, you were supposed to sign up, remember? But no, we really are attracting more than just locals, so I want to clarify that for sure.
Yep.
Awesome.
A few years ago, I looked at the Arkansas Times Mardi Gras edition, and the centerfold and half of the thing was about Hot Springs and their Mardi Gras. I don't know how much they spent on that thing, but it was remarkable how much they
It's
spent.
elaborate, yeah.
And, but
Well, and back to Jeff's point of the funding now. Sorry.
Yep.
Back to Jeff's point on funding, don't leave. Is that Patrick and I talked about editorial calendars. Basically what a magazine and their digital and their digitalization or their website of their magazine want to have as much runway as possible to get you in the hopper. We want to advertise December, January, and February to make sure. They need that design like today. They want us to get in that editorial calendar so they know exactly what's going on. I've been approached by Oklahoma Magazine and also by Celebrate, which focuses on the nonprofit organizations that we support through our carnival season as well.
I know that, well, like the Times does have a calendar in the back
yeah.
too, so you can
Yeah.
get in the calendar without spending a ton of money.
Well, we can also on the city, but again, that doesn't jump off to, it'll jump off to something that we really need to make a professional effort to do, because that's our front line.
Right.
All right?
Anything else, guys? Okay.
Awesome. I appreciate it very much, guys.
Thank you, ladies.
Are any of you guys opposed to our next meeting? We'll come up with a number and we'll vote on it. I mean,
No.
I think that sounds great.
Yeah.
because I really would, I know James has had a restaurant in this town for a long time. I'd like to hear his opinion on Mardi Gras. He's going to have a strong one, and I want to hear it.
Well, when the weather's nice, his restaurant does
Yeah,
real well.
That's why I want to hear it, because I think he's going to give us some good feedback on that. But we'll our next meeting, we'll come up with a number, we'll vote.
And then we can talk more in October, right, when we start talking budgeting?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
if things go well, October, we'll be talking about 2022.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds great.
Thank you guys for coming and being, okay, so I feel like it's time for us to start getting on track with our events and talking about events. Of course, I go to the department head meetings every Tuesday. Good news with COVID, there's very few cases in the entire county. That's great news, right? And
Yeah.
so I actually brought these up in that meeting to kind of address maybe any issues for the police or for any of that. And so we have drumming in the park.
Getting a lot of questions online about that.
Yes.
Our Facebook
Now,
page.
here's the concern with drumming in the park. Out of all the events that we're going to have in the park, that is the most crowded. That is the one where we have
People are shoulder to shoulder.
shoulder to shoulder.
Used to be, yeah.
Yeah, it has been, hundreds of people in our little bitty park, so.
Harder to control.
The kind of the request is that we do drumming in the park, but maybe we don't start it in July, that maybe we push it and make sure that July and August, September, maybe we look at a little bit softer start on the drumming in the park. So I want to get your feedback on that.
Yep.
If I remember, Rick, we had a budget of drumming in the park. Originally, it was $3,000.
We brought it down to 3,000, I believe.
It's a small budget of 3,000. That's all just, we don't spend anything on the actual event. That's just marketing, right?
That just pays Angelo to put it on.
Oh, okay. So we pay him that much.
Well, we pay him $300 each time he puts it on in the park.
Okay.
Okay, so it costs us $300 and he comes and then,
It's worth it.
and then we spend a little bit of marketing money
Right.
or social media.
My wife actually had an idea for drumming in the park because she heard me answering some of the Facebook messages asking, is it ever coming back? And that was the thing that we talked about, was that, there's the separation of people. Well, my wife, I don't know if you guys know Dr. Stacy Burnett, she's a hippie hula hooper. And she said, maybe you should just make it mandatory that everybody has to stand inside of a large hula hoop to drum. And because if you're hula hooping, trust me, you don't want to be near 6 feet around somebody that's hula hooping, you'll get hit. And anyway, she said maybe you could do like a joint thing to make it a thing, as to start it off, to teach people how to social distance as a marketing kind of ploy. And, we just get somebody in town like Gina Galena and several other people that build hula hoops. We make a whole bunch of them and throw them on the ground and say, you got to stand right here, and this is your spot, and this is your spot, and this is your spot, and your spot. And fill up Basin Park that way, and safely. It's an idea.
Sure.
Yeah. What would you guys think about potentially an August startup? Barring nothing happens in
Yeah.
July.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
would be
thinking.
prudent.
Let's see how July goes.
Okay.
We're gonna, I think, open up. The mask mandate's gonna go away
Rick, what nights did we do those on?
first Saturday.
It's a
Saturday.
Saturday event,
It's the first Saturday.
first Saturday of the month.
In the afternoon, right?
6 o'clock.
Evening, 6 o'clock in the
6
evening.
o'clock. One thing I'd really like us to think about going forward with events is during COVID, and especially now that things are opening up, I've been really keeping track of what the bars and restaurants and breweries are doing. For instance, Gotta Hold does a drumming in the park event. A lot of the artists that we have previously booked for music in the park are people that perform regularly at various places around here. I know Wanderoo's doing a lot of events, almost every night it seems like. I really think we're not working our mission necessarily by offering the same people that the bars are offering. In fact, if you think about it, if they're paying one of these acts to come there, why would a person necessarily go there and buy a beer if they can come downtown and hear them for free? I really think that going forward with drumming in the park and with the other acts that we may present there, we really need to think about offering something that, number one, we know is a huge draw, maybe is something a little bit unusual, a little bit out of the ordinary. Drumming in the park, I think people really do enjoy, but I'm not, having been there several times, you see a lot of people coming in, hearing it, and getting back on their motorbikes or getting into their cars and heading home. And they might buy an ice cream, they may go in to have dinner, but a lot of people, come in just for the fun of it, which is great. But, why don't we think about, especially in the place of the bands that we've been doing something unusual. We don't have a blues festival anymore, maybe a blues group. We rarely do anything that's really country. It's not sort of a eureka thing, but we have a really large segment of our larger population in the county that really like that kind of music. So I really think we need to be more thoughtful about it moving forward. I'd like, especially if we're spending money on it. I think drumming in the park, yeah, it'll draw people in, which will be fun. It'll make people feel like we're starting again.
Well, why don't we do something like one weekend is blues, one weekend is country, one weekend is bluegrass, and advertise it that way.
That kind of moves us from, because drumming in the park, that kind of moves us to music in the park, because,
Yeah.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's the
So,
next.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't want to compete, obviously, we don't want to compete with our bars, and we want to complement, right?
Right.
So I think those are all good ideas. I would really love to see more, not just music in the park and those kind of events, but I feel like the dramatic events, or even the school coming in and doing a play, or even if the Passion Play wanted to come down and present something, or
Well,
whoever wants to come in.
Music in the park can start early. The music at the bars didn't start till 9 o'clock, 9 or 10
And I
o'clock.
think that's what we've traditionally done.
So we just have that earlier in the day, and if we have some band group that the local bar can't afford to pay, like the Cape Brothers, for instance.
Yeah,
Whenever we get the Cape Brothers in the park, well, we draw people from Fayetteville and all over the place. They're
And I think, if people love them, we should probably book them once a year, but we shouldn't book other bands in that same genre. We really need to diversify and.
Well, we can try.
Yeah, I think it would be wise. And again, if our mission is to bring people in from the corridor and beyond, really need to give some thought. I know Paradise's recent report showed us some markets we're not really appealing to, and that works with music and the arts as well.
What would you guys think about, as far as music in the park, if we did a Thursday night series? And let me just, for those of us who are downtown on a Saturday, it's already, we're already, I call them parking wars, we're already having quite a bit, and it feels like to me a Thursday night might be a big win for us if we were to have a concert
Why
series
not? Yeah.
on a Thursday night, where we're trying to get people to come and stay, hey, come stay Thursday night because we have a concert that you can go to, and stuff.
Especially if we got some kind of headliner on Friday or Saturday.
Well,
Get 'em-
yeah, I
for
feel like right
2 or
now
3
that
days in a row.
Saturday's a pretty busy day in town, downtown now.
Yeah.
It's tough downtown.
Well, I think that's a good idea. I think we can promote it, and I think that was what I understood with like that balcony series, is it really wasn't promoted. I mean, I think if we're going to do music, we need to promote it, and like what Carol said, is maybe have different genres and attract certain things, and I think a Thursday night might be good.
Okay, so would you guys be opposed for me working with Rick and Ron and us maybe putting together a plan, kind of an idea, and I'll bring it more detailed plan to you guys for music in the park with maybe some projected dates, projected styles, projected budget? How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys have a budget in mind that we would want to spend? Where are we at with budget on that, Rick? Do we have a current
Well,
music in the park budget.
25.
I'm not sure where we're at,
Yeah.
but we moved all that 100,000 into that lump sum, so I'm not sure where the others are without
So-
my sheet in front of me.
we
but-
need to look at the budget.
Yeah,
We just need to look at the whole budget.
So,
We really didn't look at the budget when we just passed the budget that they had from last year.
no, I actually
Passed
had
last
for
year,
our
so
regular meeting for us to do a full budget. And
Right.
we,
so we're
Well, I
going to do
mean,
that at
you
our
know,
next meeting. It's going to be.
We're going to be halfway into the year, so half of our budget
Yeah.
wouldn't be spent. So I
Yeah.
think if we keep the numbers, where they were per event, or maybe even add to it, so we can do something really good, would be
well, I'm
wise.
sure we got some reserve because,
Well, we haven't spent
So-
any money, so, for this, so.
so
So
it's,
any opposition to me just trying to develop, I'd like to work with Ron and Rick, of course, to develop a little bit more of a detailed plan
Yeah.
for music in the
I
park.
think that sounds great.
Obviously, starting after the July date.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
If no one's opposed to that, then I'll work with Ron and Rick, and we'll put together something a little bit more detailed, and we'll try to come up with a budget number, keeping in mind all your thoughts. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Folk Festival, of course, it's a big deal in town. I think that Larry would work with us some on a headliner, but there's still a lot of work there to be done. I'd like to just recommend that we look for a promoter,
Right.
and see if we couldn't find a promoter to take over the Folk Festival.
There was a nice gentleman when we were having our committee, Bear was his name.
Bear could be somebody we could visit
Yeah,
with.
yeah, even if the papers, Samantha, if you'd just mention it, so maybe he'd come back, because he talked about putting on, he had done them, and I'd like to talk to him.
I think we should go back and talk to Andy Green, who did a
Andy
lot of.
Green?
Yeah,
Okay.
Andy worked for us, and he would work on a contract basis. It would be a good person to be involved in decisions about the band as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone, you got any other people that we should contact?
I think, no.
If you think of any, please let Rick know, and he can give me
Sure.
that. And then we'll put together a short list of people, and we'll just start bringing them to a meeting, and we'll see if we can't get a promoter for that event.
Okay.
Cool.
Fair enough on that?
Yep.
We're not going to be able to vote on this, but I know you guys already talked about the chamber sent over an invoice. I guess at our next meeting, we'll decide if that's a responsibility or not.
Yeah, tell us what we will be voting on, to pay that, and how much is it?
So this invoice, I think it's postage. No, is there anybody here from the chamber? Yeah, did you have information?
Yeah, I can help you.
Will you step up, please? And Rick, you too, can you clarify what this is and what it's for?
Yeah, that's actually from the printing company that mails out the guides. It's not actually from the chamber itself.
Okay.
It's a deposit for postage. Before they mail out guides from our request, they want money in hand. I mean, they don't want to get stuck with sending out, $500 worth of guides and then not getting paid.
But
So-
this is the very thing that we voted not to support, right?
Right, when they came
Okay.
for market support, we voted not to do that.
So the deposit is like an open-ended thing. It could balloon into who knows how much, right?
I think this is something we voted no, we need to wait and vote on again.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, we voted no. I don't know that there even needs to be another vote, right? Anything that comes up like this,
Let's not-
I'm just going to bring it to you guys, and you guys can just,
Yeah.
anything that's weird that I don't know what the answer is, so, but
Thanks.
we already voted no, but if you have input, we're glad to hear it.
Well, no, I think we've already pushed out the new visitor guides. They've already been delivered, the ones for this year coming up. So they're in the hands of the people. And I think in the past, what's happened is there was so much money given to us to cover that postage.
I got you.
And it was just kind of a wash. We are going to do it anyway, regardless if we get it or not. I think they were just asking to see if we could continue to get it like we have every other year. I've been with the chamber now 12 years, and I know they've paid it for 12 years, but also, I mean, if we don't get it, it's not going to make or break that visitor's guide,
Okay.
just so you know.
Okay.
Rick, did we support this last year?
Yes, we did.
How much?
I believe we ended up spending about 4,000.
Okay.
They got 5,000 in market support, but they didn't spend it all.
I'll share with you my concerns over the last few years, because we have asked every year to be involved early in the process so we can kind of get an idea of what the book is going to cover, how many of our collectors are going to be involved and in what way. And Devin did a great job explaining that. I've seen them, I saw them at my bank the other day. The problem is to get an invoice, with the assumption that we're going to just pay it. That has sort of been an issue in past years too, especially a $4,000 one or whatever that comes in. So I think if it's really, really important for us to support it, we need to be more involved in how it's produced. It does look really good, but there was a lot of discussion, you were here at that meeting, about, again, digital versus printed.
Right.
And so I think just going forward, it would be wise maybe to work with someone on the commission like Patrick, who knows everything about this stuff. I just always feel like we get blindsided with it every year, even though we ask to be involved. So that's just my personal
I
opinion.
can appreciate that. We fight that as well. But I think what we can do for you in the future, if you'd like, when we start working on the next visitor's guide, we'll have a meeting at the very beginning and talk about where we pull it's usually the ads are pulled, not always from your contributors, because sometimes your contributors do not want to be in that because they do digital.
I understand. Well, they don't want to pay to be in it, I know, for sure. And that's our thing. Our job is to support them in the best way possible. And just a listing of their name, some of them I know pay extra to be listed, but anyway, that's kind of an issue with them.
Okay, well, we'll make a point. We have a meeting on Monday, and I'll make a point of telling them that you need to be more involved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any objections to maybe adding an item or two to the agenda? Anyone oppose that? Because Melissa had something.
Well, I noticed on our meeting one, we have a museum contract. I was just going to ask you to tell us what that is, so we're kind of prepared.
Rick actually just sent me an email and said we needed to talk about it, and we didn't even have a conversation. So you want to update us, and we'll just put that on the agenda.
Sure. For the past 10 years that I've been here, and before that, we've paid the museum $600 a month to provide visitor information inside of the museum. We've always had a contract for services for that, because we can't just support nonprofits with this tax dollars. The current contract that we had will not work this year because it was for 7 days a week, however many hours a day. And Jeff and I had kind of talked about our contract for services before, that typically a contract for services is brought to us from the person that's wanting to provide the service. And we kind of wanted it to protect us, be done by us rather than by them. We put the money back in the budget to fund the museum information, but they haven't had a manager, and their hours are cut to 5 days a week and certain hours. So we really need a new contract. I just need to know who y'all think needs to make that happen.
I think what Rick's alluding to is that, look, this is just being honest, a lot of the contracts that we have are poorly written, right?
Okay.
And we're not blaming anybody, that's just, we have some contracts that need more protection as a whole.
Resolving things, I've still got one thing out right now. I've got a help desk. Frank at HCI in Georgia has set me up with a help desk so that it makes it easier for me to turn in something right now that's happening with one of the email accounts, and I'll update as needed.
Sounded like we did.
Probably a deeper, longer conversation, something I would probably like to find out more inspired in the past. I'm not sure how that was set up. Rick, do you know anything about our situation with hyperactive concepts?
Yeah, actually, I became familiar with them when I worked at the chamber years ago. He did all the chamber website and stuff. And through the years at the CAPC, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars redoing websites and getting new websites and all of that. And through all of that, he ended up being our host. We built a website when I was on the commission.
Tennessee, Lucas, Kansas were the top 4 spots. We beat out Cody, Wyoming, Taos, New Mexico, West Rutland, Vermont, Manitou Springs, Colorado, and Stockbridge, Massachusetts. So
Cool.
we're,
Someplace in Kansas?
Yeah.
someplace in Kansas. We need to look up Lucas, Kansas, I guess.
I guess so.
It's like Lucas Oil.
Yeah, exactly.
Where was that tourism tax question that somebody was passing around earlier?
It's Saracen.
right
Yeah, I was just
here.
gonna,
Oh,
if
did
we
we
still
have a
had it,
hard copy?
anyone wanted to see it, but Carroll County we're doing really well in tourism. Eureka Springs is doing great,
Up 98.5%.
up 98.5, and obviously that's comparing to last year, but there's still a lot of counties that are down. Like, there's a lot of places that
A
are,
lot of places have not recovered.
And
Well,
and
fortunate.
that's fantastic, because last year was a good January and February.
Yeah,
And
very-
it was before COVID had hit.
that's right, yeah. So,
Yeah.
anything else? If not, we'll dismiss, and I will work on getting us some special
Yeah,
meetings.
let's adjourn.
So we can
Okay.
get some of this passed. All right, thank you, guys.
By the way, I don't want to tell me what I need to do now that I'm there.